And now for one of my favorite parts of the graduation weekend. Each year I stand in front of the seniors many times during our class meetings and ask them to do different things and vote on things. And one of the things I ask them to vote on is their inspirational speaker at Baccalaureate. And each year I say to them, vote for not just someone you like, but from someone you want to hear from. Vote for someone who has something to say to you. And this year I added something in my instructions. Oftentimes the students are voting for or considering their classroom teachers. And this year I said, consider all of your classroom teachers, but consider all the educators that work here at Woodstock Academy. I am pleased to introduce Mr. Charles Harrington, a member of our Woodstock Academy security team, as this year's inspirational speaker.
Thank you, Mrs. Favreau. Before I begin, I would like to take a moment to say Happy Father's Day to all the dads. As a dad speaking on Father's Day, it doesn't get any better than this. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sanford, Mrs. Singleton, members of the board, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, parents, and my friends, the class of 2014. Once again, we find ourselves in a situation where the question on everyone's mind might very well be, exactly whose bright idea was it to give this guy a microphone again? You all did. I am honored, grateful, and humbled by your decision. We started here together when you were freshmen, my first year at the academy. I'm nervous. Quite a few of you I have known for much longer. Some knew me as Coach Charlie, and some met me when they were in kindergarten. It has been my distinct pleasure to see so many of you grow up, to mature, to develop into the kind of people that give me reason to smile, give me hope and optimism in the face of all the dire forecasts that the world throws at us every day. I have been called upon here to deliver a message of inspiration. It is in fact you who inspire me. As graduates, you enter now a world fraught with crises: global warming, rising oceans, imminent media strikes, economic recessions and depressions, civil unrest, religious apostasy, political hypocrisy, weekly storms of the century, fracking and earthquakes, hate crimes, a new Cold War. The list of impending doom is unending and relentless. Just read the paper or watch an hour or two of doom and gloom news media, and you'll see that we are all in very big trouble. I have news for you. It was no different when I graduated high school way back in 1978. We had runaway inflation, air pollution, the population explosion, the coming ice age, the original Cold War, the oil crisis, and the rest of our own list of impending disasters. We survived, and so will you. And yet, faced with all this doom and gloom, you choose the little happy old guy with a smile to be your inspirational speaker. Haven't any of you been paying attention? How can you possibly prepare for all that lies ahead with only the questionable wisdom of a man whose sanity more than a few have wondered about? Your selecting me to be your inspirational speaker is flattering and much appreciated. But perhaps it says more about you than me. Perhaps because of who you all are, because of the kind of people you are, because of the ways in which you were raised, the values you hold dear, and the way you would all like the world to be. Perhaps we are not really doomed to a made-for-television disaster movie future. Just in case you didn't think I'd been paying attention these last few years, I have. I've watched and listened and witnessed, and most of all, I've smiled. I have been fortunate to witness your kindness, compassion, and optimism. I've watched and admired your growing friendships. I've seen great acts of courage and determination, both on the athletic fields, in the classrooms, and in the music halls at this school. Anyone with my point of view, and just like at the basketball games, I've had the best seat in the house. Seeing all of you from where I sit, it would be difficult not to be optimistic about our collective future. Perhaps most of all, I've seen your courage in many little things each and every day. Courage is the human trait I find most admirable, and as such, I am keen to notice it, even in everyday situations. When you get to my age, and especially when you have children of your own, you come to realize just how much courage growing up requires. Can I have a drink? Courage. Little, if anything, in life can be accomplished without it. It takes courage to live life to the fullest, to love, to laugh, to cry, to mourn. All require great courage. It takes courage to be who you are, to find out who you are. It will require courage to face mistakes, and there will be mistakes. You will need courage to learn from them, to put one foot in front of the other, and to carry on. The good news is that you've already done this a gazillion times. You just may not realize it yet. If you think hard, though, remember back to freshman year or middle school. I'm certain that each and every one of you has had to muster great courage on several occasions. The circumstances are as unique as your fingerprints, but the commonality is in the requirement. You have all had to overcome, and you have done so brilliantly. Where is my friend, Taylor Butts? Taylor played football for me when she was 10 years old, the only girl on the field. You think that was scary? And yet she may have been the very bravest player out there. Now she is a grown woman, hardworking and responsible, who I would bet on in any situation. John McGinn. Where's John? From kindergarten on, he has endured my pestering. It took a couple of years to become my pal, and I'm glad he finally had the courage to finally acknowledge that crazy guy who said hello to him every morning at St. Mary's. Austin Stone, singing the national anthem just the way it's supposed to be sung. He only looks fully composed, cool, and collected. He gets nervous just like the rest of us. Isn't that true, Austin? William Bourgeois, the very first pal of Billy's to come over our house at 5 years old, never said one word to me the entire visit. A look of complete bewilderment in his eyes. I've watched him grow and mature, facing adversity with great courage and setting an example that everyone can follow. Jordan Adams, singing Walk Lorraine for his football teammates. Do you think that took courage? Cheerleaders, Jenna Clinton and Mariel Baker, one at the anchor, the other at the apex, out on the floor for every game, and especially at every difficult football game, never once letting up in their enthusiasm and support. Christopher Lowry, his unselfish play, doing everything he could to make everyone around him excel. It is never easy to be in the spotlight, especially when it shines on you from freshman year on. To fight your natural instinct to take it to the rim and instead look for opportunities to help others shine, that takes courage. My good friend Trent Peters. Obviously, I've always been the little guy. I've watched Trent play ball since 5th grade, always with tenacity and courage, and always against much, much bigger players. This year, Trent grows to 5'10", and he plays like he's 6'3". How proud do you think I am of him? Gymnasts, Courtney Osborne and Bree Husong, such poise and grace. Not just 4-year varsity, but 4-year champions. Good Lord, the balance beam. I am frightened just walking by one. Pressure? What pressure? And how about Big Tim Davis? What a story there. Coleman Langle. From 5 years old, I have watched him grow and grow. Courage? Coleman wants to run into burning buildings and save lives. That's what he wants to do with his life. My dad was also a firefighter. It is among the noblest of professions. Or Dwayne Tao, Kent Kamanzi, and April Zhu, and the rest of our international students who came halfway around the world from countries far away to us here in Woodstock. Like the many immigrants to this country who left home at young ages to begin anew in America, that courage built this country. And ours is a better world because of the courage of people like them. And of course, my very own Billy. I did ask him if it was okay for me to come to work here. He rolled his eyes and he agreed, telling me that he was used to me by now. Week in, week out on that football field, against incredible odds, under the microscope as a quarterback, with every opposing player gunning for him. And then on Monday, after another very difficult game, he's back on that practice field, leading and encouraging his teammates, setting the example, determined to once more give it everything he had. His courage and effort were nothing short of amazing, and it made his father very, very proud. And all of you unnamed here, who quietly have made this journey, many who allowed me to befriend them along the way, that too took courage. And there are many more, too many to cover here today. All those presentations in class, asking someone for a date, helping someone out. The list is endless. There have been so many victories and accomplishments. When you think that life is getting the better of you, remember how much you've faced and overcome in the past. Doing well in the first job interview isn't really any different than facing all the new kids on the first day at a new school. Only the circumstances are different. The kid who made it through that first day is the same person who will get through that interview, or bounce back after losing a job, or find happiness in a new relationship. You have conquered before, and there is no reason to believe you won't conquer some more. You have been well prepared. I know a great many of your families. They have done their part. Woodstock Academy is a terrific school, and you will realize that more and more the further away from here you get. I promise you that. You've had great teachers, so many of whom genuinely care and invested themselves in your future. That too you will see with greater clarity as time marches on. So what happens going forward is up to you. What will you do with all that you have been given? With 3/4 of the people in this world eating rice out of a bowl twice a day for nourishment, no matter how difficult your own journey might have been to this point, so very many would trade places with you in a minute. Don't take it for granted. You have been set up and prepared to lead, to help, to be admired, and to serve. And this indeed is an honorable position to be in. What will you do with the opportunity? The one and only place to start the future is with ourselves. And the only advice I can really give is the same advice my own father gave me over 40 years ago. He was a school teacher, a father of 9 children, and my own personal hero and a source of inspiration to this very day. Way back in 1971, I was a red-headed, freckle-faced 10-year-old boy. My dad was my hero, and I made it a point each day to get out of bed early, ahead of my brothers and sisters, so that I could steal some time alone with him. I remember one particular morning I was helping to make oatmeal in a huge pot for my 8 brothers and sisters. The morning's Boston Globe was on the kitchen table. The big story was about a tremendous tsunami, we called them tidal waves back then, that had hit the country of East Pakistan, which is now known as Bangladesh. Nearly 200,000 lives were lost, a monumental human tragedy. On the front page of the paper was a picture of a young Pakistani boy, close to my own age at the time. He was obviously malnourished, ribs showing in a distended belly, an empty bowl in his hand. In the gray of this picture, the thing that jumped most off the page was the bright white smile on that little boy's face. My father pointed to it and asked me, "Charlie, with all the horrible things going on all around him, how could that little boy possibly be smiling?" I gave him a perfectly appropriate 10-year-old's answer. Maybe he knows his picture's going to be in the paper. My dad smiled and he said, "Maybe that's it. Or maybe he's smiling because he chooses to be happy." Dad then carefully explained to me that each and every day of our lives we will have a choice. We can choose to be happy or we can choose to be miserable. Regardless of the circumstances, we always have that choice. Around the world, there are plenty of millionaires who choose to be miserable, and they are, in fact, miserable. There are also countless millions of folks with little or nothing who choose to be happy, and they are, in fact, happy. Regardless of the circumstances, he told me, we always have that choice. Some days it will be more difficult than others, and it won't always be easy, but even if we fail, we will have a new opportunity the very next day to choose to be happy. I have never forgotten that conversation, and I have tried very hard to make that conscious choice every day. Some days I didn't do well at all, but I have always tried again, and guess what? I think you all know, I have indeed been happy. I certainly can't tell anyone else how to be happy, but I can tell you that happiness will not come from riches, a big house, or a fancy car, or a job title. If you wait for someone else to make you happy, I'm afraid you will wait a very long time. It is no accident that when we do the right thing, we feel good, we feel happy. That, I believe, is a universal given. If we then choose to do the right things, aren't we in fact choosing to be happy? Each of you will have to sort out your own formula for happiness, but that quest begins with a simple choice each day. What kind of person do I want to be today? Shall I be miserable? Some days you might be perfectly justified. Or, despite the odds, will you choose to be happy? I have one more thing to share with you. It's a poem. A man by the name of Max Ehrmann wrote this bit of prose in 1927. It went largely unnoticed at the time, but became very popular in the early 1970s and was even made into a top 40 record. Remember records? Some of your parents or grandparents might remember this. I heard it then and thought it made perfect sense, and I still believe that today. So listen carefully. There is better advice in this poem than I could ever give you. It's called Desiderata. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant, for they too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons, they are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection, neither be cynical about love. For in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe. No less than the trees and the stars, you have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life. Keep peace in your soul, with all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams. It is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. Finally, we reach the end of our time together here at Woodstock Academy. I would wish you all good luck, but I don't think you're going to need it. I have grown close to every class that passes through here, but this one for me, of course, is very special. I am very grateful to all of you for indulging me, for allowing me to enjoy this journey with you, and for allowing me to be a special part of it. I will indeed miss you all. I do indeed love you all. I hope you will come back often and visit. Thank you again, and remember, be brave and choose to be happy.